Hello and welcome to the Otaku Network podcast. My name is Steve.
And I'm David.
And we are into week 12 of the fall anime season for 2024. We'll get right to it. As usual, we will talk about the final episode of Tsuma Shogakusei ni Naru. So the episode starts off with Mai inviting her mother for a day at an amusement park. And the whole thing is actually a ploy concocted by Keisuke and Moria. Mai makes sure that her and her mother are on a Ferris wheel at a specific point at which they see Keisuke and Moria holding hands. Takae goes, let's follow them. I want to see what's going on. And so they follow them to, they're like in front of a pond or something. And at which point they see through silhouette Keisuke essentially proposing to Moria. This brings tears of joy to Takae, and she passes on and leaves the mortal realm. Mai is a bit shooken up by it and heads over to where the other two are, at which point Keisuke profusely apologizes to Moria for getting her involved in this. They tell Mai that this is actually a ruse and they're not getting married and they're not in a relationship with each other. That this was something that Moria had thought up as a way to get Takae to pass on. And so it worked. After that, we get a scene where Keisuke wakes up to the smell of breakfast cooking and enters the kitchen to find his wife cooking breakfast. It dawns on him pretty quickly that this isn't real. It's kind of a mix between a dream and a haunting possession by Takae, as she pretty much says her final words to him before she officially leaves. We skip ahead sometime in the future, and we find Mai and Renji preparing for a day fishing with Keisuke. They're already married, and Mai is living with Renji's family. And as they're leaving their house to go meet up with her father, who has already went ahead of them to start fishing himself, she decides that it's now time to tell her husband about the strange years she had when they first met, relating to the somewhat reincarnation of her mother. And that's pretty much it. The credits scene, we get a whole bunch of exposition in the credits, and it's primarily the event of Mai and Renji's wedding, where everybody's there to enjoy it. Right up front is Keisuke with a portrait of Takae, and it's touching and sweet.
Yeah, Chika and Marika are there.
Yeah, Chika and Marika are there. Moria's there. Moria's friend is not there.
That girl died. That girl died that night.
She evaporated that night at the festival.
She just fucking died in some horrific accident.
So that is...
Why doesn't Takae just possess her?
Who knows?
Obviously she was such a throwaway character. They didn't need her. Just possess her. It'd be cool. It'd be fine.
So that's the end of the story of TsumaSho. It was just a tale of...
Moving on.
Of moving on from loss and love. It was not a ridiculous comedy with terrible tropes and potential criminal prosecution hazards.
Yeah. But it was a good show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It ended well. Yeah, it's probably better that the whole thing with Moria was more of a ruse instead of reality.
Yeah.
Because his feelings are so strong for Takae, there's no way he'd switch just that far.
Right. At least right now.
Yeah, who knows?
I do feel like he super hoodwinked his wife, though.
Well, it's probably better than the original plan that he had, where he was just going to give her the cold shoulder until she disappeared.
Yeah, that's fair. But...
yeah, they're like, the whole thing was a ruse. The fact that they didn't tell Mai, and Mai went through all of that trauma.
She's just like a spirit, and she's like, Keisuke, saw what the fuck you did. Yeah, it's going to be awkward when he dies. And, she's like, tell me everything you did. And I'd be like, you remember how I told you I was going to marry that girl? I actually did. Oh, I enjoyed it. It was heartfelt. I really enjoyed the fact that there was feels. Lots of feels.
Yeah. It was
I felt things.
It was a measured and honest story.
I felt things.
There was no extraneous plot pacing or any. It just told the story that it needed to tell, and it did it in a good enough way.
I could agree to that.
It was not disappointing. I won't read the manga, and I don't think I'll ever watch it again. But I didn't regret spending the time watching it. It wasn't bad. I just don't need to watch it again.
Yeah, it's not a lot of replayability.
No, not really.
Just a good, honest story.
Yeah.
We blew Miburo it up this week. So jumping right back into where we left off, we get the pretty boy that walks into the dango shop. Spoiled brat, right off the bat, asks for 2 cups of water, realizes that it's a dango place, orders a bunch of dango. Taro finds out that he doesn't have his coin purse and immediately blocks the exit and tries to tell Hajime to block the other door. And Hajime's like, don't tell me what to do. And we then get a large and in charge fellow with a rather long sword. and he was trying to wield it one-handed. They managed to disarm the man, and he just calmly leaves and goes and sits outside and starts smoking. 3 more of the Mibu show up. We get Okita, Hijikata, and Toto. And everybody's like, quick, get inside, get inside, get inside. To which we find out that there are six more people casing the joint. And we find out that this is none other than the Shogun. It is Tokugawa himself, and he is in Kyoto to speak with the Emperor. And everybody is fucking dumbstruck. Like, why aren't you in Edo?
Yeah.
Why are you here? And the Shogun then explains that he was here to meet with the Emperor, and his entourage got attacked by a group of men, and he had to flee, and he found this dango shop. They quickly devise a plan to try to get the Shogun out of Kyoto and into the safety of Niji.
They just need to get him back to the castle that he's staying.
Yeah.
Where
Get him
the
back
rest
to
of
the
his
safety of
retinue
his
is.
castle. And so they split into 2 groups. One where Toto is pretending to be the Shogun, and the other where Granny is pretending to be the Shogun. And they run in opposite directions, splitting the 6 assailants. And Neo and the Shogun actually stay at the dango shop, thinking that their ruse has worked, when Home Skillet comes back for his massive fucking katana and basically gives them to the count of 10 to fucking run, so that he gets the thrill of the hunt. They run. They end up. It seems like they lose him.
Seems that way, yeah.
But I don't 100% know.
They're like winding their way through the back alleys because this is Neo's, home.
And this is where Neo begins to kind of get this background about the Tokugawa Shogun, and
he's reluctant to be in his position.
He's reluctant to be in his position, and he finds out that the Shogun can't kick out the foreigners, doesn't want to kick out the foreigners, and kind of explains that he still wants, Japan first, but he has to make concessions. Otherwise, Japan's just going to continue to fall further and further behind the rest of the world. And that's kind of where the episode ends. Oh, we get this thing about his horse and how he likes horses, and he just wants to be an animal trainer person. He has to be the Shogun and has to lead Japan.
Episode was all right.
The episode was all right.
The dude was comically villainous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, over the top.
It actually got me. I did not realize that the Shogun was actually that young.
The plot device of him wandering around Kyoto, when everything's kind of dangerous with a couple of bros is a little suspect. But whatever. We have this fictitious.
But he's not the last Shogun, right?
No, he's not the final Shogun, because he dies before the end of the Boshin War. I don't know
Is it one
how
of
he
his
died.
brothers?
I think
Shogun?
it's an older brother.
Okay.
That ends up being the final Shogun.
Is the title of Shogun not passed on to the oldest?
It's not technically a hereditary title.
Oh, I just thought the current Shogun would pass it on.
Not necessarily, no.
Did they just name an heir apparent?
Yeah, they'd be like, this guy is probably our best bet to be as the figurehead of the clan right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
'Cause they can just pick whoever they want to be the head of the clan.
Yeah.
And it's the head of the Tokugawa clan that is the Shogun.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. I relied on you.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, pre-Tokugawa just kind of taking control of everything. I believe the Emperor was the one who had the last word and who was going to be the Shogun at any given point, I think.
So
the title of the Shogun had existed since, I think, the Muromachi period, like the 1100s.
okay.
He is essentially like the top general of the country.
Okay.
It is kind of how that equates to, of sorts.
Japan doesn't have shoguns anymore.
No, God, no.
Okay.
No. No, the shoguns ended at the a lot of it has to do, I would assume, not really knowing honestly, with following the end of the Tokugawa era and the reinstatement of the imperial family to be the true heads of the country. Emperor Meiji really did a lot of work. Well, he and his advisors did a lot of work to modernize / westernize the way the country operated. So something tells me that beyond the whole ill will thing of having 250 plus years of the emperor not running the country because of the shogun, on top of wanting to more construct their military control via how the Europeans and Americans did it, the shogun concept didn't fit within those plans. I think it was a combination of things. Like this, we didn't like how this was, and we're kind of moving in a different direction.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
And now the Tokugawa clan's just like...
Yeah, the Tokugawa clan probably just has a lot of money and...
They do a lot of charity work.
And, properties and In fact, yeah.
They're very Japan first.
They're landed gentry.
Yes, they do invest a lot of money into like improving Japan,
Yeah.
improving education in Japan, making sure the government functions in a non-corrupt way. Like they're very against like corruption in the government. Yeah, Blue Miburo. What'd you think?
This episode really made me think that Blue Miburo is especially with this like comical villainous bad guy with this giant daikatana.
You think this is like really pro Shogun?
It really reinforced my ideas that this is a conscious, free alternative to watching Rurouni Kenshin, because that's all over that series. Yeah, we'll see what the next episode. I'm sure.
Did you know?
I'm sure they're gonna run back into the big dude.
Did you know that was the Shogun?
Yes. Do you know why?
Is it the thing on his belt?
No, because of the title of the episode. What is it? The weakest Shogun, I think it said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that guy's the Shogun. But no, I didn't know. And when they said his name, and I had to look it up, and I was kind of like perusing his Wikipedia page. And so I did a Google search for Kikuchiyo, and the first thing that popped up is that's the name of Toshiro Mifune's character in Seven Samurai. I was like, oh, interesting. And then I dug deeper. I'm like, oh, okay, never. And then when they finally said his Shogun name, I'm like, oh, okay. So I pulled up the wiki on his Shogun, on the Shogun. I'm like, oh.
I like how Hijikata's just like, isn't that the childhood name of the Shogun?
Yeah. I think he was made Shogun at age 11,
Okay.
I think.
I just like how Hijikata's like, oh my god, that's the Shogun.
Yeah, well, you didn't expect to see the most powerful person in the country cowering in a dango restaurant.
Yeah.
Alone.
With 3 of your like recruited children soldiers.
The minute they asked him for money, I'm like, bro, ain't got no money.
You spoiled rich fuck.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's powerful. He's the level of power where you don't pay for things yourself. Other people pay for it for you.
When he said he didn't have money, I was like, is that the Shogun?
Yeah, like you think the queen of
I was either like, that's either the Shogun or the Emperor.
Fair. No, everybody would have. Well, I don't know how well known the face of the emperor is at any given point, at least back then.
Fair. But I was like, that is a high up person. And then Hijikata's just like, that's the Tokugawa Shogun.
Yeah, he's
like,
essentially the dude who runs the country.
I was like, huh. I didn't
Mr.
know we were.
President, no.
I was like, I didn't know we were gonna meet the Shogun this early in a 36 episode anime.
About halfway through.
I know it's 24 episodes.
Yeah, it was all right. It was fine.
Good.
Yeah, like I said, it reinforces the idea that this is a conscience-free alternative to watching Rurouni Kenshin.
Yes.
So this week in Orb, we begin with a conversation between Badeni and Oczy and
Nowak.
It's hard to tell how much Nowak believes them or doesn't believe them. But when he leads the conversation down to what they're studying, and when Badeni says that they're studying astrology, Nowak perks up and asks them to show him their research. So they're like, not a problem. And they take him back to the squad. And he essentially is just shown all of the material that they got from Count Piast.
Yeah.
Which at that point is all the geocentric research. So it fits within the accepted ideologies according to the church. But his eye catches the heretic necklace kind of sitting far back on the desk. At which point we know that he knows.
We know he knows that they're fucked.
Yeah, and so he's like, oh, well, everything looks to be in order. I'll let you gentlemen go, and kind of takes off. At which point, now Oczy can tell Badeni what's going on. And Badeni's like, cool. All right, let's just leave. We should get out of here in like 2 days. You go your place, I'll go my place, so it'll be cool. And Oczy keeps talking, because Otsy's obviously nervous and freaking out, and brings up the necklace, and he's not sure if Nowak noticed the necklace, at which point Badeni's like, nope, he saw the necklace, we need to leave immediately. So they start frantically Badeni anyways, starts frantically trying to destroy as much of the evidence as possible. Oczy questions him why is he ruining all this material? And Badeni's like, didn't I tell you? I'm the one who's going to solve this. I can't let anybody else have this regardless of who they are. I've got it on my head, it doesn't matter. Oczy keeps trying to plead with Badeni to just leave everything and just leave immediately because they're in danger. In fact, talking about how at some point they should reconnect so they can keep working on this. Badeni doesn't want anything to do with him. He just wants to get out of here before Nowak comes back and after he destroys as much as he can. Oczy then notices with his amazing eyesight a carriage that he's pretty much, that's the Inquisitors. They're here already. We got a couple minutes. We need to leave now. They argue more, waste more time. And Otsy's like, look, you're the brains. You know what's going on. You leave. I will buy you time, and grabs his sword. Badeni is a bit stunned by this. Is like, this bro's gonna throw his life away for me. Then we see Atsuki.
Super tries to dissuade him by being like, if you draw your sword against a clergyman, you go to hell.
Yeah, and Badeni.
You go to hell and you die.
And Atsuki's like, well, that's just what's gonna have to happen, I guess. You need to leave now, Badeni.
I mean, if you want to be technical, Nowak really isn't a clergyman.
Yeah, well, prior to that, we didn't know that there are also 4 junior acolytes with him.
I don't know if
They're probably clergy.
Maybe. It might have also been like town guards.
I don't know.
Something.
Anyways.
It wasn't very clear.
So Atsuki goes to meet the carriage out on the road. Sword drawn. We cut to inside the carriage and Nowak is what the fuck was Nowak talking about?
He noticed one of the guys was nervous.
No, Nowak was talking about how, like, he's pissed off at something. He was pissed off.
He's pissed because
these guys were so close to his daughter.
Yeah.
Yes. And then he tries to do like the whole like seasoned combat veteran thing of like reassuring the newbie who's like pissing his pants because he's never gotten into a real fight before.
Yeah.
Carriage stops, and I think at this point when Nowak sees that there's going to be some trouble, Nowak perks up a little bit because honestly, I think the thing we could say about Nowak is he does enjoy martial combat. So 4 acolytes kind of try to ring Atsuki without realizing that Atsuki is literally a professional duelist and quickly are dispatched.
The one dude running and
the one
down.
Dude's like, fuck this, and flees.
And then falls on his own sword.
Yeah, don't remind me. I hated that part. I thought that was the dumbest thing to have happen. Because that does not happen.
I mean, even Nowak was like, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah, to the point where Nowak, I want to believe, stepped out of character and pretty much chided the author to not, he shouldn't have done it that way. Anyways, it was so dumb.
It happens.
Oh no, this isn't another. Oh, by the way, never watch another. It's a terrible series.
Okay.
Anyways.
Noted.
I'm probably going to get hated for that because a lot of people love it. Anyways. And the episode ends with the continuation of the duel that we had left a couple of episodes ago where Atsuki and Gar are about to face each other again. We don't know what Badeni is doing.
He's burning the shit and leaving.
He should have already fucking left though.
This episode was so good.
This was a great episode.
Boot drop.
It was so good. I'm so glad that this didn't just have them getting questioned right away and then led directly to the Inquisition chambers. This whole, like, we almost get away and then this showdown thing is a way better way to take this narration.
Boot drop.
Oh,
Holy
so
shit.
good.
I also liked Badeni, like, caved finally and read Atsuki his last rites.
Yes. Yeah. So
that was so fucking awesome.
Because Badeni is truly trying to convince Atsuki that he shouldn't be doing this because he's gonna damn his eternal soul. And so as Atsuki leaves the shack, Badeni gives him his final rites. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he does the entire Catholic last rites.
that was phenomenal.
I had chills. I was just like,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, it was so good.
It was very shonen, but the pose that they struck too, where he's just like, his hand is on his face.
It was good.
I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
No, oh my God.
Art direction in this show is fantastic.
The past couple episodes were good, but they weren't. We had kind of stopped doing that thing where every episode just got progressively like more dramatic and engaging.
Yeah.
Because we had this down period. It was still really good, telling a great story, moving the narration along in a good pace.
I feel like it needed that little downturn.
You got to back off a little bit before you jam it back into first gear again.
You could consider this the mid-season finale.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because it is a 2-core story.
Yep.
And we're getting the back-to-back core.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying in the car, I would have been upset if this was just a season 1 for the show. Because I told you could have ended the season right there, and that would have been a contained season.
True. Well, you have to resolve this interaction, but yes.
I don't know. I've seen shows where they will leave a cliffhanger like that. And I feel like...
No, you're right.
I feel like Orb would not back away from a cliffhanger ending like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that has to be where Volume 4 ends.
Yeah, probably.
The show right now is through Volumes 1 through 4 of everything that we've seen so far.
Yep.
Which means the last half is going to be 5, 6, 7, and 8. Because we both think that it's a completed series now with the manga ending in Volume 8. Excited to pick up those the other 3 books. But yeah, it seems like we're going to get the entirety of Orb.
Yes.
In these 2 cores.
The story is over with. It's concluded, so there's no reason why we shouldn't get the entire thing in the series.
So I am very excited for the next episode. I'm gonna see this show out because
Oh yeah, absolutely.
holy fuck, this show is anime of the year right here for me.
Yeah, so that leads us to next week's episode. We will not be talking about TsumaSho, obviously. So we will do one more episode talking about both Orb and Blue Miburo as we discuss their episode 13s next week.
Episode 11 for...
Sorry, yeah. Episode 11 of Blue Miburo and episode 13 of Orb. And then when both shows conclude at the end of the winter season, we'll do kind of like a quick recap of kind of what transpired from the rest of the shows and wrap it up. And next week as well, included with the final episode for these two, we will talk about the 3 shows that we're going to be starting in January with the new season. Yeah, I can't think of any way for TsumaSho to have been, to improve how it told its story. It told it in a satisfying way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not a waste of time, I feel. Just by the nature of the story itself, it's not one of those that lends itself to being repeatable, I feel.
Right.
And I don't think reading the original manga will add more substance to improve the story. So I'm not interested in seeking out the manga.
I was interested to seek out Orb's manga just to see what it fleshes out. I feel like a story this thick, there's got to be some stuff the anime just kind of...
Yeah, that's possible. Well, you'll know when you get the chance to read the first combined volume you picked up.
I know. I'm excited to read that.
Yeah, Blue Miburo's episode wasn't bad. It kind of makes up for the past 2 episodes of pointlessness, I guess.
Yeah.
It's becoming more action-orientated.
Yeah, finally. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Letter grade for TsumaSho.
Oh, TsumaSho.
It's wrapped up. We can give it its letter grade.
Honestly, I'll give it a B+. It told the story it needed to tell. It handled it well, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking or extraordinary. But it was still a good product. So yeah, I'll give it a B+.
So for the listeners that keep track of our letter grades, you may remember that I gave this show, I think, like a C+.
Well, because you were really concerned about what kind of story it was going to tell.
Was very concerned. I will admit the show was a lot better than I anticipated.
Yeah.
So I will also be giving the show a B+,
okay,
based on its storytelling, and the fact that I just genuinely cared for the characters.
Yeah. No, they did a good job on focusing on the things that they needed to focus on.
I cared about every character.
Yeah.
I wanted all of them to be happy in their own way and to find happiness, which it seems like they all did.
I loved the redemption arc that they gave Chika.
Chika's redemption arc was very, very good.
Yep.
It moved me to see Marika run to Chika's arms after school.
Yeah.
That was very heartwarming, and it was good to see this return to form, if you will.
Yes. After
their,
Takae had transitioned on.
Yeah, of their mother-daughter relationship to be healthy and positive again.
You were left with a feeling that everything was going to be all right.
It was very good, and I'm very happy to see the show conclude the way it did. So that's why I will jump a whole letter grade to a B+.
Yeah, no, it ended well. I think it ended the best it could, honestly.
Definitely not as good as Red Cat Ramen, though.
No.
Spoilers for all of our listeners. If you don't pay attention to Anime News Network, Red Cat Ramen's getting a season 2.
Yeah, so
And speaking of season 2s,
Yes, lay it out.
Steve has been telling me for the last
year and a half, pretty much. Pretty much when episode 12 of Skip and Loafer dropped, I've been telling you don't expect season 2.
Steve has been poo-pooing on my idea that Skip and Loafer, my introductory anime, the anime that I love most in all of my heart, and is super special to me because of the person that showed it to me, is getting a season 2.
It is
getting a season 2.
Miraculously enough.
And I feel so fucking vindicated that it sets a terrible precedent to be an anime fan for me.
Yeah,
because now I'm gonna expect all of it.
I was trying to make it so when it never happened that you were not going to be deeply wounded by it. I'm glad we're getting a season 2. That's phenomenal.
I held up my hopes and
unexpected.
I was rewarded.
You were. Season 2 of Skip and Loafer is coming out at some point next year, and season 2 of Ramen Akaneko is coming out at some point next year.
So we are blessed with 2 of my favorite animes.
So
getting some sweet love.
Ramen Akaneko very well may return to the Otaku Network podcast. Because we don't know the story.
That's true.
We can't do Skip and Loafer because we know that story.
Fair.
Because that's one of the contingencies for the series that we pick for the podcast, is that it's something that we don't have any experience with.
But we could always do a follow-up side quest to talk about the second season.
Oh, for Skip and Roll? Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we did talk about the whole series.
No, we didn't talk about the whole series.
I thought
we talked up to about the point where we're at, which is about volume 6, maybe.
Maybe look forward to a side quest where we talk about season 2 of the anime.
There will definitely be a side quest for season 2 of Skip and Loafer.
So yeah, we're
excited. Next year's
we got some content.
2025 is shaping up to be a really good year. There's going to be a lot of really good anime, a lot of returning series. It's crazy how much is coming back. It's going to be good though. So Orb itself continues to be a very strong show.
Such a good anime.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to continue. But like I said, after next week, we will no longer be talking about it on the podcast.
Just every time a boot drops in that show, I'm like, yes!
So good.
Oh, the art direction is fantastic.
Yes.
Just every time. The combat was pretty fluid too.
Combat was good.
I liked it.
He went through them like paper.
Butter. He just...
He's like, oh, you guys think you're going to do something? Cool.
Or like when they shot the crossbows at him, the first one was just and then like weaves through the other two.
Yeah.
He deflected one with his sword.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Come on, Miburo, get your shit straight.
Yeah, come on. Orb?
This story about historical scientists is kicking your ass when it comes to quality fighting.
Orb has literally taken like our favorite bits of animes that we always like get really excited for and just like
because it dishes it out in very small quantities, and when it does it very well.
Because like even the stuff with Yolenta, it's like kind of coming of age-y, but you know, in a different time period.
Sure.
But like it's coming of agey for her and like finding her place in the world.
Yeah.
Kind of slice of lifey for her.
Yep.
So it takes everything we like and it's just like, here's one super fucking good anime. Have
Orb
fucking
is
fun.
so good.
Which is why.
Yeah. So
we'll talk about it in another podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna
be
our
rankings.
We're gonna be dropping a short episode where we give where each of us give our top 5 anime for the year, and then we're also gonna do another one where we rank Ranma 1/2 characters, seeing as Ranma 1/2's season is wrapping up, and we don't know what it's gonna return, but it is returning. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to like and subscribe.
Join our Discord.
Yeah, drop a comment. Check us out on our socials. Anything else?
For those of you that celebrate.
Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and I hope you all had a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time.